Hi everyone, my name is Nick, and this week's plant of the week is Senecio rowleyanus, more presently known as Curio rowleyanus, and commonly referred to as the string of pearls or string of peas. And you can see why it gets this common name. And it does get its species name rowleyanus, as it's just simply named after a botanist. And this is such an incredible trailing houseplant. As you can see, it just really forms a curtain of beads. It's just so lovely. This is also the number one plant, I would say, at the plant shop where I work that people bring up as far as plants that they kill or struggle with. So this is a plant that I thought would be very good to talk about near the beginning of this series. So this string of pearls was actually a gift to me for, I think, either my 22nd or my 23rd birthday. So I am 25 now. So I've had it for a couple of years, and it's really grown quite a bit since I've gotten it in my home. When I did get it, it was just as a small 3 or 4 inch nursery pot, and it was just inside the pot as you would see a standard pot of string of pearls at your local houseplant store. And this thing has taken off over the past couple of years. And since I do get a lot of questions about this in store, I thought I would share basically exactly what I am doing with mine in my home. So this string of pearls has been living in a southern-facing window for the entirety of its time living in this current apartment that I'm living in. So it's been here for over 2 years at this point, going on 2.5 years. And it has just loved that south-facing window. Its prior home was in a western-facing window in my apartment prior to this one, and it just did not get that much light. I lived a little bit more downtown in Center City, Philadelphia, so it was just, there was a lot more buildings, so I had a lot less light exposure, if you get what I'm saying. So now that I live just off of downtown, I have a lot more light exposure, which I really enjoy. So this plant has really enjoyed that move, specifically because of the light exposure is definitely the number one thing this plant appreciates. Southern facing windows might be a little bit too much light, some might argue, for a string of pearls, but I would say that that has been the key to this one's success in my home. I would say if you don't have a southern facing window, you could try a west facing window, but from my experience, I would say that east or north facing windows might just not cut it. A window might handle it if you get enough light exposure, but a north facing window without any of that direct sunlight coming in the window, it's just not going to cut it for this plant. The next thing that I would say about this plant is watering is pretty important. If you purchase this plant, it's most likely going to be in a plastic nursery pot, and those are going to hold on to a lot of moisture in your home. It's going to have much more water retention in your home compared to in the greenhouses where they've been growing, where they're probably set to a specific humidity and much more light than you're able to get it. So they're drying out a lot quicker. And that, I think, is the main issue that people have when they purchase a string of pearls, is they bring it home and they either keep it in that plastic nursery pot, or they just plant it in a pot that just doesn't have enough aeration or breathability. So my tip would be to plant your string of pearls in a pot that is roughly the same size as when you purchased it. So you can see I have this in a 4-inch terracotta pot, just a standard one that will cost like $1 or $2 at your local big box store. And that was pretty much the same size that this string of pearls came in. In fact, I think the pot just barely fit inside the nursery planter, that is, barely fit inside this terracotta pot. So I'd say that's a pretty important thing, is to keep this plant snug. Say that you would do like a Hoya, which they just don't want a lot of room, and if you give them too much room, they can easily rot or just kind of disintegrate, if you will, and just become nothing other than a pile of dead plant or mush, depending on which end of the spectrum you go with that watering. The one thing I will say about this plant is I have had a little bit of a pest problem with it over the years. The spider mites seem to really like this. In the summertime, when the sun is just so hot on this plant, I think actually I'm just noticing a few spider mites on this plant right now. So after I'm done filming this video, I'll go put it in the sink, give it some sprays of water, and then give it also a little bit of spray of the Captain Jack's spinosad spray, just to help keep that at bay. But as I have had this for a couple of years now, I don't think those spider mites are a total hindrance on the plant. It's just kind of a minor nuisance. The one tip I do want to say in terms of watering, I think that I haven't gotten to at this point yet, is to watch for when the pearls get kind of dull. So you can see my lowest pearls here. I don't know if that's going to be focusing on the monitor, but I'm sure you can see some of the cat hair that's caught in there, but these lowest pearls are pretty shiny. So that's telling me that this plant's pretty good on water. I usually look at the new growth, and if it's really shiny, I know this plant does not need water, but once it kind of dulls back, say how these pearls in the top of the pot are they're very dull because they are just so old. That is what I'm looking for on the new growth as to when to water it. So it's just kind of a simple way for me to just look at my plant and know when it needs water versus having to get up, as this is hanging up pretty high in a window, and stick in the moisture meter or stick my finger in there to check what the watering situation is. So one of those tips that I think is pretty important to help you guys grow your Senecio rowleyanus at home. So keeping this in a breathable terracotta pot, I'd say, is really important. Keeping it snug, just like how I was saying, this is planted in a rather small pot. Watching for the pearls to dull before you water it, and giving this a tremendous amount of light, more than you would probably give most of your other plants, are my tips to how I care for my string of pearls in my home. And as you can see, it is just a full curtain of pearls or peas. And this has become one over the years that I've just really enjoyed for just how immensely it has grown. It has grown tenfold as to when I purchased it, as it was just a handful of pearls inside the pot, and now I just have this full curtain. So I'm just so head over heels for this plant. I would love for everyone to have some more success with this plant, so that's why I wanted to share my tips about this plant today. So thank you guys so much for tuning into this week's Plant of the Week, String of Pearls, or Senecio rowleyanus, or Curio rowleyanus, whatever you want to call it. Please leave your care tips as well if you grow this plant in the comments, because people would love to hear, as this is a plant that I get asked about very often. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you don't already, follow me on Instagram at Philly Foliage, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in my next video. Have a great day.